Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Roundtable. Hope that you are having the most amazing day and allow for the days to follow to greet you with the warmth and the love that is present in this space today. I am filling in for our beloved host, Jamie Smith. I am Hillis Pugh, and welcome to this week's Ascended Masters Roundtable. And this week we are discussing the Schumann resonance. And I am so excited for today's topic, led by our own Ascended Master, Kristy Giles. And so, Kristy, take it away. What is it that we have to know about the Schumann resonance?
Well, thank you, Hillis. Thanks, everybody, for joining me. I'm excited for us all to share our perspectives on the Schumann. As we all know, there's a lot of controversy over details related to the Schumann, lots of mystery as to what is really going on, and certainly a lot of ideas about what could be going on. So I wanted to share my backstory and connection with it that really got me intrigued about learning more about it. And I talk a lot about a chronic illness over a decade ago that I was doing a lot of different things for healing. And when I actually traveled for treatment, one of the modalities was pulse electromagnetic frequency therapy. And while I was doing that, I was reading up because there was a lot of information about what it was. And they were explaining to me that it was set at the Schumann resonance. Now, what is interesting to me is my master's is in natural health, and specifically I studied the healing abilities of nature. So one would think I would have come across this somewhere in my studies, but I hadn't. And when I first started to read about it, I could grasp the concept, but I really, it's sort of hard to really get what they're trying to tell us. And in general, it had a lot to do, I think we all know the base frequency for the Schumann, and it was established at 7.83 hertz. And we know frequency, vibration, and all of those activities are energy, in motion, traveling through, and especially the Schumann has been established that it travels through material. So we know that it's traveling through our body. And the basic purpose is that I like to think of it as it's a little bit like home to us. It's a base frequency that our bodies are comfortable with and well established at. And as a result, that's where we can find the most effective cell regeneration and healing that can go. It's like it puts us in that state where we're naturally established. So all of our functions, happen more frequently, for lack of a better term. But it just, all the signals that are going through our body happen in a way that we are naturally meant to evolve. Now, we also have heard that it's also similar to our alpha and theta waves and our brain waves. And if we've done any study reading with the studies that the Heart Math Institute have done, it's also at an amplitude that really magnifies our heart messaging, our heart functions. And I like to, as I've looked into that, think of that as where our natural instincts really thrive. So we know that there's a lot going on in our body that is sort of, natural, home, instinctive, intuitive when we're exposed to Schumann resonances. And so I was really just hoping that each one of us could share any experience we've had with that or our understanding from our background and knowledge. Anybody want to kick it off?
Yes, and just, really quick, forgive me, everyone, I didn't introduce the other masters that are here with us. We are also joined by Charlotte Tomlinson from the UK, Spring Rayne, or Arizona, or
Yep.
yeah, and then Olivia from California, correct? Or
Correct, Los Angeles.
awesome. So, ladies, who wants to go ahead and express their what they have, their knowledge, and what they have a connection with the Schumann resonance, this earth energy? That's essentially what it is. Mother Earth transmitting her knowledge and wisdom to us for us to be in vibrational alignment as we co-create and share this planet.
Well, I'll say what I was experiencing recently was a lot of fatigue, and when I hear that the Schumann resonance is going up and down, like higher than it's been ever, that it's part of perhaps going to a higher level because our planet is ascending. So I'd love other people's thoughts about that, but it just gives me hope that we're actually moving into a higher, more love-based frequency. And I think maybe if I have a day where I'm really tired, I think, oh, well, these are ascension symptoms, and maybe this Schumann resonance. And a lot of times it does correlate with a spike in it, or yeah. So I'm just curious how others experience that, or if you've heard about that.
I have. So I kind of consider, Mother Earth, female, obviously. I think of when she gets those spikes as she's having contractions, and she's like, getting ready to go through the birthing process as she's ascending. It's all a part of the process, is all these contractions. When we're getting, going into this new earth, we're going to feel some wonkiness at times. It's, we're feeling, if we're grounded and connected with her, yes. Sometimes it's a little bit much for me when she's going through that. And what I found that I've done is I have a Rife machine at home, which is it's an old school machine, but it's a frequency based machine. It also has like a PEMF paddle on it. So when I feel those spikes, I put that on, and that's like her normal frequency. If it's too much for me to handle, I put that on my body, because I'll get like weird pains and stuff like that. So I just put it right on my body, and it just kind of mellows me out. When she's going through her contractions, I at least go back to her normal base frequency, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Charlotte, what about you?
I can't really talk so much about the Schumann resonance, but Kristy and I had a discussion some time ago, and Kristy reminded me that what we were talking about was the resonance of music, and everyone's talking about I can't remember what they call it, but the bass, sort of the bass line of 432 hertz. Is anybody familiar with that as being a good vibrational resonance for music? And what does that actually mean? And I'm a musician, so I was thinking, what on earth are people talking about? But in fact, it's actually, I think, and I'm very happy to be corrected if I'm wrong, but 432 hertz, just to let everybody know that Western classical music is certainly in the UK, and I think the US is the same, but it's different in certain countries in the continent, i.e. Austria's different, and a couple of other European countries are different. The bass line for the note A is 440. So my understanding of this is that 432 is what they're talking about. Let's tune A to 432. That's my understanding of it. Now, I might be wrong. I'm really happy to be corrected. But sorry.
I have some insights on that, just specifically that 432 is resonant with the heart frequency. And years ago, when the people who kind of try to manage the earth to our chagrin, actually set it to 440, so it would go to our head frequency to kind of throw us off. And so when we can hear 432, it's a lot more pleasant, I understand, but it was it was kind of a control mechanism.
Yeah, that I understand totally. And but what I was trying to sort of explain as the mechanics of it, because it's literally the note A is tuned to either 440 or 442 or 432 or 430 or 415 or 528. You know, there are various different things. And in the musical world, this, I mean, don't worry if this doesn't make any sense to you, but there's been, in the last 60 years, there's been a resurgence of let's go back to the Baroque era with the period style instruments of the time. So therefore, let's go back to the way that they did their pitch. And that's 415. So that's really a big difference from 440. So this is kind of interesting. So that's what it is. So if you go to a symphony orchestra concert and you see the oboe player play one note, that's the note A. And certainly in this country, and probably the US and Canada, that note will be A is 440. And what I'm curious about is, yes, it has been contrived, and it's been contrived, so that's very interesting you say for the head. I didn't realize that. That's really interesting. It has been contrived, but how the heck do we go back? Because my piano is tuned to A440. You can't take an instrument which is really settled and tune the whole thing down. And you can't take the symphony orchestra and tune all those instruments down. You can take, you know, a whole lot of instruments and change them, but, you know, it's complicated.
That's interesting to know. Thank you for that, Charlotte. And so one thing I want to bring up and talk to Kristy about, and I'm glad that she used the word instrument, Charlotte, because I think this is very important to understand how this is being utilized. And what Olivia and Spring talked about moments ago is the spiking of the Schumann resonance. And why is it important, and why is it happening now? Why are so many people experiencing dysfunction or physical fatigue? And I guess one of the things that I want you to talk about is that this instrument, which is this body, you know, because that's what it is at a certain point in these spikes or in the levels that are happening on the planet, and anyone else can chime in after Kristy, does someone eventually get adjusted to the new frequencies? Do they physically come into alignment with what's happening presently on the planet, whether they are aware of it or not?
Well, great question, Hillis, because I think there's also so much speculation about what, you know, whether those spikes are more, whether they're natural, whether, you know, had the instruments that are recording them are recording them, you know, in the right way. But I think what's we can be sure is happening is the fact that we have gotten away from being exposed to natural energies. So even if we talk about all of these different frequencies as whether they're natural or manufactured. And so we all know that we're so exposed to manufactured energies just with cell towers and electronics. And then if we talk about potentially music has been contrived and a manufactured frequency, that these are potentially energies and vibrations that our body just doesn't function with well. So we're almost having to counteract them all the time. And if we're not counteracting them enough with the natural frequencies, then obviously that's when we get out of balance, disease happens, you know. And there was even a study done deep down in a bunker for a long time where there were no natural frequencies exposed for a long time, and people started to develop headaches and extreme fatigue and a lot of depression. And so, you know, as much as, and they also then actually had them electronically put back in, and people started to see relief. So, you know, although these are natural frequencies, you know, how they even come to us is possibly irrelevant, but our body responds to them really fast. And so, you know, even at one time I wondered, you know, are some of these ascension symptoms part of us detoxing or recovering from all the unnatural frequencies to get back to, you know, where our body is more comfortable and thrives? Or is it even these higher frequencies are just helping our body heal at such a great rate that, you know, you're having cell regeneration and detoxing from all the other unnatural exposures, whether it be food and chemicals and environmental toxins, that it's, you know, yes, potentially the frequency is rising, but I think we can first assume that it's helping us recover from the exposures that aren't in our best interest first, and that maybe we're trying to adjust to it. So yeah, it's, you know, there's a million theories on all of what is going on here. I think the first one is that any level is helping us level up, for lack of a better term. It's helping us heal. And the more that we can help our bodies expose to it, my big question that I would love to study is, if we were more exposed throughout the day and days to natural frequencies, how would we respond to these spikes? Or if we weren't exposed to things so much that our body had to heal from, would we be responding at the same level too?
I really love that explanation. Thank you so much for that, Kristy. And just to reiterate, from what I'm hearing, and you guys can chime in, is that essentially the purpose and reason why we feel the way that we feel is because the overexposure of unnatural energies and frequencies throughout our daily life. And so when we do go out into nature, or when there's an energy spike, sometimes we may feel off kilter, not in balance, not in harmony. It could be because, one, we're detoxing on the energetic level, and that is the detox symptoms or ascension symptoms of clearing out our field, so to speak, and coming back into harmonious alignment with the natural energies or frequencies of the planet. So ladies, well, I guess spring, I see you just like ready to go. So spring, and then Charlotte, and then Olivia.
I was just gonna say, I just moved from Boulder, Colorado to Prescott Valley, Arizona. So we didn't know until like 2 or 3 years in that those tunnels you were speaking of, like where people, you know, did those experiments and such, were under our feet. So there was a lot of energies we were fighting against that were unnatural, literally below our feet. Like when I looked at the maps, and I was like, oh wow, that's my neighborhood. You know, like
Wow.
I was like, so it took us some time to be able to get up and get out, but it's just night and day. Like the energy, the frequency here, like I don't have to run to that PEMF meter as much, you know, not the meter, but I don't have to do as many treatments on myself living here. And like we didn't even set the machine up for like 3 weeks or something, and it wasn't like you know, it wasn't 100% necessary, which is nice. So yeah, there's a lot to be said about outside strong frequencies. We were in like a really strong, it wasn't like that at first. They put up a bunch of 5G towers in the area. So that was very, you know, detrimental to more than we thought, I guess, until we moved and realized, you know. I will say though, when I did fight through cancer in 2012, there was one of those towers outside my neighborhood that was put up, and a lot of us on the street ended up getting cancer.
Wow.
Within 6 months, most of them died. Like I was like one of the few survivors. But what I did was I knew I could do it naturally. I knew I could do it by getting back to the Earth's resonance and leaving where that area was to heal my body. And I took my camper and went to Tennessee, and was just unplugged, you know, no Wi-Fi, no phone, not even power to the camper for a while, you know, just, it was very unplugged. And I needed that back to the earth, like nothing but the earth, in order to really, that gave me the jump start in order to heal.
I love that. Thank you for that, spring. little Olivia, what are your thoughts about what Kristy just talked about?
I've got more questions than I have answers, I think. I mean, you know, what you've been saying, so Spring, what you were saying about the, what you were feeling from the earth, and I think, and Kristy would also agree with all this, and the natural earth frequencies and resonance. And it really interesting that you say that you noticed it more when you left. Sometimes I don't think we know how impacted we are. And I mean, I certainly know if I haven't been out in nature, then I really know, I notice it when I do go because I feel so much better. So that there must be frequencies and, you know, this is your thing, Kristy, isn't it? Frequencies and resonance and energies that we get from nature and from these natural frequencies that are so important to us. So that is one thing. And my question, I suppose, is, again, it's not actually, I'm sorry, I'm going off topic slightly, not quite Schumann resonance, but I'm fascinated by if there are all sorts of stuff that's going on that's nefarious underground and has been, and maybe it's better now than it was, and let's not talk about it. But say that, I mean, obviously we know that there's been a lot of that for a long time, but what I'm interested in, how, I have a friend who does earth acupuncture. How is that, how do all of those tunnels and those dark stuff that's been going under our feet impact earth acupuncture? And let's say, and the ley lines and all of these things, we're so out of touch, aren't we? And I mean, if we have this chance to clear it all up and clear it all out and come back, I don't think we'll know we've been born. I mean, we will be so different as human beings.
I can answer part of that for you.
Yeah, go for it. Go on then.
So what a lot of people don't know is that, like our instrument, physical body, there's chakras. There's 7 in-body chakras, and then there's another, 5, 6 out-of-body chakras. But what people don't talk about are the 196, I believe, chakras in the body, which are the meridian points. Okay, and the meridian points act like ley lines of the earth. And so there's this connection, this hidden connection of the ley lines of the earth and the meridian lines in the physical body. And so I say that to say that that's why, one reason why we are also affected by the Schumann resonance and the ley lines of the earth, because of that unspoken connection. But what I want to get to is that just like the body, there's also the chakras of the earth. There's 7 chakras on the planet. Actually, take that back. There's, I think, 13 chakras on the planet, 3 of which have opened up in the past year, and still more continuing to open up. So with these energies that are opening up, these energy centers, one being, Mount Shasta, one being Mount Uluru in Australia, another one, the 2 most recent ones that are open, the one in New Zealand and the one right above, right under Ukraine. So these are all chakra centers. The chakra, I think, is 12 and 13 is New Zealand and Ukraine. Those energies just opened up. And so when the energies and frequencies are emerging, that's when things have to be a little bit volcanic, if you will, or they begin to settle. And so with everything that's happening on the planet, Mother Earth kind of knows what she's doing in terms of, okay, well, this is happening over here. I have to find a way to counterbalance it, just like our bodies do. And so our bodies are balancing the frequencies. And one of the things that I help to balance my frequencies is not just listen to the baseline energies, but also 40 hertz, which is a gamma frequency. Now, I'm not sure if you guys know about gamma frequencies, but that's really potent. And so I say all of that to say that there's the unspoken relationship. And so there's whatever happens on Earth is happening within us. And so with everything that's unnatural on the planet that we feel, we have been so conditioned not to pay attention to it and just go about our everyday. And so when we do go back out in nature, or when we do connect with Mother Earth, whether it's us going to nature or us taking plant medicine or herbs and things like that, there's this sense of relief to know that, okay, this is it, I get it, I understand, and this is the path that we must walk to have that balance. Yeah. But Olivia, what's on your mind? What do you
I feel like I was just telling a friend last night that I crave the experience of just going into a mountain lake and just laying there in the water with nothing nearby electronic at all. There was a place I went as a kid that's like that, and that's kind of where I go in my mind when I want that feeling. I'm curious if people have heard that the Schumann resonance is going to go up and stay higher, or is that maybe what you were saying, that we'll be at a higher frequency just as a new normal? Have people heard that?
Well, I think we also have to be careful, and I don't know, Charlotte, you can help this too when we talk about resonance, because, you know, like there are different resonances that even the Schumann is consistently found at. You know, 7.83 is the base, but it does go up, you know, different levels. And so I guess the question is whether it's going to stay higher, but that's sort of making the assumption that the higher base is a better frequency. And I think that's really not how resonance works, because different levels can all be of similar resonances and just are beneficial, you know, healing levels. Doesn't mean we're getting used to exposure at different and higher levels of that resonance. Yes, possibly, but you know, a base of 7.83 can also be a very healing good one for us. So it's kind of becoming this assumption that, you know, going up to 100 is better than 7.83 or something, but it doesn't really work like that. It's the resonance you're maintaining that's more natural and healing and instinctive, you know, and intuitive for us. And so there can be several different resonances at different levels that do all of that. So yeah, you know, again, it is just a theory that with these spikes are higher than normal, or whether they're staying, or whether we're getting more of them or they're higher. But I think that goes away from the purpose of there are just very natural healing resonances at all different levels that are helpful to us. And, you know, at 7.83, we can be much more energetically evolved as well, you know, and our instincts and intuition can be more plugged in. But I think where the real key here is that, so if you imagine, they say the Schumann is the heartbeat of the earth. And of course, that's energy, just like our heart, you can measure the energy that's emitted, I think up to several feet away, even more. So this energy is being emitted from the earth, and the whole idea is that it travels to the ionosphere and bounces back. And so that's when it travels through material, through us, and coming back. But the key is that when we're on similar frequencies or resonances with something else, that's when communication happens. So that's when, you know, whether you want to call it natural communication, telepathic communication, but that's when, you know, your real you is communicating with the most natural form of earth. And so really all we want to do is get in resonance with the earth. And what's cool, what you guys were just all talking about is, you know, it can help us ascend, whether that's becoming, you know, at higher levels or more established levels. I like to think of it as becoming more consistent with being in a natural resonance. So we can get that benefit and value from the earth when we're in a similar resonance, but we can also emit the same and help the earth heal and recover from, like you guys were talking about, the underground influences or the negativity or the unnatural And so our key is really about just doing the things that get us into that similar resonance of the earth. And then the communication and the help and the energy flow is going both ways. And so we will both benefit. And I think, Olivia, your question is very, it's out there. We all want answers to it for sure. But I think we missed the point of, we also want to just get in this natural state where these natural frequencies are normal to us. We are comfortable with them, and that communication and flow of energy is going back and forth, and then we all win.
Thank you.
So you know what you did, Kristy? You sparked a question in my head, and I may have gotten the answer, but I'll just put it out there and want to hear feedback from you guys. And so, talking about the spikes of energy. And, everyone who's watching this, I hope everyone's watching this is aware that we are, the earth has moved out of third density. So the earth itself has moved into fourth density energy. So us people on the planet, we're kind of playing catch up. And the importance of this is that the earth has moved in from carbon base in an energetic sense. The earth has moved from carbon base in the physical sense, and they're moving into crystalline energy, crystalline body. And so it's taking time for that evolution. So would you say, Kristy, that since the earth has moved from carbon and moving into crystalline, in the sense that we have to follow suit, would you say or find some sort of correlation that since these higher energy frequencies are occurring more frequently, that we too have to move from carbon-based to crystalline-based energy, and the only way to sustain that is to operate at a higher frequency and vibration?
Yeah, I think if I'm answering your question, is we just think of our cells as the same as molecules in anything else. So even if you take carbon and imagine that it's influenced by, energies and movement and oftentimes pressure, right, which will form more into that crystalline structure. It's just changing its structure to get it to move from, say, carbon to more crystalline. And so it's the same with us. And so we're just getting into more, and it could be, energetic pressure that is happening to us that's causing it. It could be the way the frequencies are moving through our body. So these molecules either become tighter or move around differently, or, and I think of as we work on the cell regeneration, that's really what's happening, right? We're trying to get more of these healthy, well-functioning cells all working together. And so I imagine a stronger, more constructed structure that we will be existing and living in that is communicating with each other's cells. They're able to push out the unhealthy cells while they're all working together. And we know that healthy cells are ones that could kind of move freely, but they aren't restricted by unnatural structures in them. And so we're really talking the same thing. If you take those structures in nature and see how they become carbon to crystalline, that is where we are going to. And it would make sense that the energetic frequencies that are going through us and the movement and the pressure or lack of, or even the de-stressing and restructuring that's going on will help us do that. So I definitely think we're moving into a different, more functioning structure that will help energy move in and out of us much more effectively.
Anyone else want to share thoughts about that? No? Okay. I guess final thoughts. So if you guys have any final thoughts you'd like to share, or any tools or anything that people can utilize to help get them through these spikes and upheavals and coming into alignment with the natural frequencies of the earth.
Could I ask two things from your question, Hillis? Just so
Yeah.
everybody, I thought it would be great if we do what you're asking and share the tools we go to feel those natural frequencies, but also what we think we could do backwards, so that we're seeing the benefits of the Schumann and the earth and the heartbeat of the earth, as well as tuning ourselves in, but also what we can be doing to it, emitting that back to others in the earth.
Yeah, I like that. I love that. Oh my God. Yes. So who would like to share? Spring.
Yeah, for what I do, kind of what I do for the normal people to kind of get them on track. Here, sorry, volume. Healthy food, healthy water, try to really limit any kind of junk food, anything processed. It's very hard to eliminate all of that within our day and age unless you're 100% raw diet, which is very difficult for a lot of people. I did it for a short time, but it's a lot of work. It's, it definitely helps you get out of that funk. So less meat, I'm not 100% vegan or anything like that, but less meat, a lot of vegetables, try to do fresh juices, as in vegetable juices, water, lots and lots of fresh water, alkaline water if you can, reverse osmosis, definitely filtered, try to just have the more pure foods that will also keep you in connection. So when I start working with a client that's not really spiritually inclined, they end up being by the time we're done, because it just happens. I just don't say anything. I shut my mouth and I let them do their thing, So I've had, guys that were in the military and just, sports players and, very super active, go vegan for a while and then just all have all these crazy epiphanies and they could hear God speaking to them. And I'm like, yeah. They're like, what is going on? I'm like, you're listening to God, you're listening to the earth, you're tuning in now. So because you're eating foods that are from the earth instead of all this, processed crap everywhere. So that is one thing that will kind of help you stay in tune so you're not feeling as rough. Because a lot of these foods, we don't realize they are so rough on our body, our digestion, our brain, because the brain and the digestion are connected. So when your body is in good space and your stomach's in good space, your brain's going to be more connected.
Yeah.
So having healthy foods is definitely the way to go. And I can help you guys with that if you need.
Charlotte.
Totally agree with Spring. We do the best we can. I mean, it's a constant battle to try and, support ourselves with all of these things against all the various different challenges around us with food and everything and water. But yes, definitely that. I think for me, it's getting back on track with meditating. And when I say meditating, it's not just being thoughtless for hours at a time. It's actually tuning into myself and my own connection with the earth, my own connection with, my spiritual life, and a very, very simple one: what to give back to the earth. I mean, I have this sort of little mini meditation when I really struggle to kind of get back to myself. Was I breathe it? I breathe in from, I breathe in from the divine or God or whatever, or source or whatever you want to call it, and then into my heart, and then I breathe out from my heart and I send it to the world. So it's like that's a sort of a gesture that I'm doing. I also, and this is a tool that I give musicians as well, which is unbelievably important, and that is to get your feet flat and solid on the ground. I may have mentioned this before, and feel as if you're digging your roots deep. It's a yoga exercise. But then I also add to it and bring up the nutrients and the nourishment from the earth back up again. And some people, that really works for them. Musicians have a tendency to get quite floaty. So when they're being brought down to earth, especially violinists who go up like that on tiptoes, when I get them down, solid on the ground, it's extraordinary the difference it makes. Huge difference. So grounding, but sort of bringing in and giving out. It's like a sort of, I mean, we do it with our veins and arteries. We do it with our breath. We do it. It's a natural thing to bring in and to give out, and pull in and give out again. And I think that's just a simple one.
Olivia, what about you?
Oh, I love all these ideas, and just related to the food. My son's in the hospital and he's on a feeding tube. So every day I go in and I write love on the bottle because that changed the frequency. The food ingredients aren't great. And my daughter's really stressed about that. Yeah. And so any bottles that are going into him, I write love, which, as we know, changes the frequency. And also I pray over my food. So if I can't get exactly what I want, I try to change it energetically each time.
Me too.
And then I also feel like there's a lot of people that are scared and maybe don't know really what's going on. And we know what's going to be exposed soon is going to stress people even more. So kind of similar to yours, where you, I have this thing called the dove method, which is where I drop into my heart. And so it's drop and then open the heart chakra and then visualize pink or white light going to, or love energy going to another person. And then I just exchange energy. And I feel, especially people that are agitated or maybe angry, or I'm having a little disagreement with, when I do that, it actually changes the dynamic. And I've done it even before difficult meetings. I'll do it in my mind's eye, and then everything turns out much better. So those are just some of the tricks.
I like the method part. That's cool. That's a good way to remember it.
I love it. These are really
yeah, it's not unique, obviously, but it came out as a little way to remember. Thanks.
You know, I love all these ideas, and these are all similar things that I do. And towards the end here, I remembered I have one of my favorite tools in my pocket, so I have to share this. I've been using it for about 2 years, and some of you guys may have heard of this, but it's actually called a Healy.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so this little guy, and the reason why I thought about it, because there's a frequency program on here that is for geo something, and it's specifically for the planet, and not to be bombarded with other outside energies or frequencies. And so when things get a little bit crazy, I just pop this in my pocket and I'm good to go. And so, you know, it's interesting how, you know, we talked about frequencies and how we have been talking about frequencies in the past few weeks in the exchange of other discussions. And so it's just really important to really understand what your personal frequency is and understand what makes you feel good. And, you know, when you feel good, the earth feels good in your general vicinity, and then it just radiates out to other people. And so that's the primary takeaway here for everyone who's watching, is to, no matter what it is, as long as you're doing something that makes you feel good, whether if you're meditating or grounding or earthing or putting love, writing love on your food, or just praying over your food and just really asking the right questions, it's all up to you to make the difference, yourself and the frequencies that you are in charge of.
Can we, Hillis, before we wind up, can we just ask Kristy for her contribution as well?
Yeah, no, I was getting to that.
I didn't want her to be missed out, you see.
No, not at all. We will never miss the goddess of the hour here.
Oh dear, I jumped in too soon.
That's
Thanks,
fine.
Charlotte.
I love it though.
So you want me to go now?
Yes, please.
Yes.
We could actually be here for a couple hours, so I'm going to try and keep this very succinct, because Charlotte knows that, you know, the health benefits of nature are my thing. But I think the key thing is that, especially right now in the times we're going through, that if we can think of looking to nature the second we're experiencing something, like Olivia was talking about the Ascension symptoms, because, you know, the faster we can get back to our natural frequency, the better we can deal with all that is going on around us, and recognizing that, you know, if you are even in social events that you might find overwhelming, the ones outside, it's like having a friend in your back pocket is going to help you through a little bit. So I literally, whenever just any kind of experience, physical, mental, emotional, is happening, my first recourse is just go outside and sit down, because sometimes we can't even figure out what to do or how to help ourselves. And so you've at least put yourself in the environment where your heart is activated, your natural instincts are going to instantly be their strongest. And so you literally don't need to do anything, but just get yourself out there first and then figure it out. But it's also your best time, because there is so much going on that it's really hard to stay consistently connected with ourselves. So take yourself there where that will just happen naturally without any effort. And I think that when it comes to nature in any form, and you guys touched on all such great stuff with water and natural foods, any little piece you do that has a connection to nature is going to help you. Even what Olivia said about imagining yourself there. If you can't be there, imagine yourself there, because it's going to bring your body back to that natural frequency. And that anytime we acknowledge or pay attention to or have gratitude to nature, we are giving back. And so we are sharing our good energy back with the earth and helping it heal. Obviously, you know, there's many more larger physical and more influential things we can be doing, giving back to nature. But if we're consistently doing that way, then we have a very good frequency flow back and forth with the two. And trust me, I know Mother Earth is just happy if we think to go to her and acknowledge her every day would be probably the most beneficial thing I think any of us could do.
It is, yes, being present is the most important thing anyone can do, no matter what it is that we are experiencing, no matter what we are going through. So ladies, I appreciate and honor your contributions, your wisdom, your knowledge, expertise in this day. Because even though we all come from different backgrounds, live in different countries and states, all about sharing that wisdom, taking a little bit here, taking a little bit there, and allowing others to cultivate what works for them. And so allow this day to be cultivated within you, in your heart, in your mind, in your feet, in your soul, wherever you wish to communicate. Allow this to be that for you. And so, ladies, I honor you and thank you for this day and this wisdom. And until next week, everyone, have an amazing day. And I forgot what we're talking about next week, but come back, hang out with us. Until next week, everyone, have an amazing day.